Back when I was a wee chap, by which I mean 13 or 14, I played a lot of GTA San Andreas. I don't say it's one of my favorite games of all time idly. I probably put like 200 or 300 hours into it, and there was an entire summer at one point where I pretty much exclusively watched videos about GTA during my free time. I was a particularly big fan of the Machinima series The Bad Assassin, which unfortunately was never finished. But it still definitely holds up.
I think they dream about pooping on Lamborghinis.
Oh God, kill me now.
Sorry. I guess that's what you get for tempting fate like that.
And it was around this time that I discovered the surprisingly robust culture of GTA myths and urban legends, and specifically the culture of GTA San Andreas myths and urban legends. A culture that doesn't really exist anymore, as the entire concept always relied upon a sort of amateurish experimental feel that YouTube doesn't really have anymore ever since everything became so widely commercialized. But dumb little goofy videos with dramatic music looking for some explanation to something completely benign, those were my jam. But why were there so many videos about GTA San Andreas in this regard? Well, that's because GTA San Andreas is one of the biggest games of its time. Of course, it's a bit quaint these days, but it's a game that invoked so much mystery and so much intrigue because of how deep and layered the whole thing was. Like how if you go into this random area marker that can only be accessed through the gym in Los Santos and then you fly into a specific direction, you'll find this weird mirror universe version of San Fierro. Why? To this day, I don't know. And then if you fly up to this one spot on the bridge that connects San Fierro to that one part of the map that never gets used, you'll find yourself in front of a little plaque that says there are no Easter eggs up here. And Easter eggs is the key phrase because the developers had a lot of fun with GTA San Andreas, and as such, they decided to put a lot of Easter eggs and general weirdness in the game. There are entire articles that you can find all about Easter eggs they decided to put in. References to pop culture, other video games, Rockstar Games itself, and stupid in-jokes that probably amused them and nobody else. It was practically an industry at one point, finding and mapping out all of these Easter eggs that they decided to put in. And with so many Easter eggs within the game, naturally, it would sprout urban myths, because what you can find is interesting, but the things you have yet to discover, that's where the real intrigue lay. UFOs, serial killers, the blood fog, the strange photographer who calmly and methodically walks into the sea after taking a single picture, though that one was apparently to do with a pathfinding algorithm. The NPC did a scripted action and then walked towards the nearest sidewalk, which was across the water. These were just some of the mysteries and rumors we spent countless hours trying to get to the bottom of, because if all this stuff exists, surely there's tons of stuff yet to be discovered. And with so much discussion surrounding the things that did exist, there had to be something to the things that may or may not have existed. But one urban myth that stands above them all, the thing that could potentially be the most famous urban myth in all of video game history, Bigfoot in GTA San Andreas. That's the one that stands out above them all. A myth that, unlike everything else, was based entirely on speculation rather than what was in the game. I probably don't need to tell you what Bigfoot is, but I will anyway. A folkloric Sasquatch said to inhabit the forests of somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, a strange creature that was itself an urban myth, with rumors of its existence dating all the way back to 1958, which is surprisingly recent for an urban myth. Rumors of the existence of Bigfoot in GTA San Andreas stems all the way back as far as only a few days after the game's release. Nobody quite knows where or when the rumors started, only that they have been a thing almost as long as the game itself. Of weird growling noises at night, footprints that players could find that they attributed to Bigfoot, mysterious shapes off into the distance, unexplainable phenomena that could have very well been a rare occurrence deliberately programmed by the developers to mess with you. So much like the urban myth of Bigfoot itself, you were never quite sure if you actually saw what you thought you saw. The game boasts a significantly large map for its time, and a large chunk of that was countryside. And it was alleged that in some unspecified part of said countryside at night, there was a rare chance that you might see the eponymous Sasquatch off in the distance if you're out in the forest. An extremely rare, almost 1 in a million occurrence. The most commonly stated location for the sightings is the absolute most backwater of backwater areas, an area known as Back O Beyond. With rumors abound, speculation ran rampant for years. There's practically an entire genre of videos dedicated to the search for the elusive Sasquatch. Discussions, forum posts, endless people making claims about having seen the creature or even having been killed by the creature, while others made a big show about searching and searching and searching, but never stumbling upon the alleged circumstances to have Bigfoot appear. And whatever you want to say about the myth or the people who wasted hours of their life searching, there was definitely precedent that something like this could exist. Of course, if you know anything about GTA San Andreas, you're probably familiar with the hot coffee controversy, where a graphic sex minigame was included on the disc but was made inaccessible. It was only once the game was made available on PC that it was discovered. Hence there was a giant controversy. It was later entirely removed from all copies of the game to abide by ESRB regulations, so the idea that something could theoretically exist in some versions of the game but not other versions of the game, and the idea that something could retroactively be patched out, led to the speculation continuing. People ended up searching every available retail version of the game, different ports, different regions, you name it. Plus, it was also worth mentioning that there was a piece of documentation that the game came with which included Bigfoot as a special thanks credit. It was perhaps the greatest wild goose chase in the history of video games, as an entire community sprang out of nowhere. A community of people trying to find their own answers. Something had to come of this, right? Nope. Nothing was ever found. No amount of searching could yield any undoctored evidence of this myth being true. There were of course many cases of doctored screenshots or even mods specifically made to retroactively prove the rumors, but nothing legitimate was ever found, leading to a lot of speculation and a lot of disappointed empty hands. And unfortunately, the rumor was killed once and for all when Rockstar Games themselves came out and confirmed that Bigfoot did not exist in GTA San Andreas, which I'm sure probably didn't stop some people. Some conspiracy-minded people probably thought that them confirming that it didn't exist meant that it existed. As for the person credited named Bigfoot, that evidently was just some person at Rockstar Games who had the nickname of Bigfoot. The fact that this was such a widespread rumor leads one to wonder why the rumor started in the first place. What was the initial spark that lit the flame? One theory comes directly from Obi Vermey, the technical director of Rockstar Games during the development of GTA San Andreas. He explained that the hunger meter in GTA San Andreas causes CJ's stomach to rumble as an auditory indicator to notify when he needs to eat. He speculated that some player, or possibly players, were wandering Baco Beyond at night and mistook the rumbling of CJ's stomach as the growls of Bigfoot somewhere off in the distance. Which is as legitimate an explanation as you could ask for. Kind of an unfortunately benign reason, though. Then again, this is just a theory. The entire thing could have just been some random playground-style myth that some random person told to another random person at some point, which then took on a life of its own, who's to say? But the existence of the urban myth in itself sort of eventually took on a life of its own as well, considered to be the thing that kickstarted the entire culture of GTA myths. And the developers themselves took note of just how much of a cultural phenomenon it was within the community, to the point where they themselves took it upon themselves to poke fun at the idea, but also pay homage to the community by including Bigfoot in a couple games later on. I believe the first of which would be Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare, the zombie spin-off of Red Dead Redemption, the basis of which allowed Rockstar Games to get completely and utterly wacky. As such, there was an entire side quest you can go on separate from the main game where you hunt down and kill Sasquatches.
I've seen a lot of strange things recently, but no Sasquatch running around here. Nor no place else. They're made up.
The last of which will mournfully tell you that some maniac had been hunting down and killing his family.
My family is gone. My kind is gone.
And once you kill the last of the Sasquatch, you get a trophy called 6 Years in the Making. Of course, Undead Nightmare came out in 2010, and San Andreas came out in 2004. So one could presume that the entire side quest was put in specifically because of that urban myth. Matter of fact, in the French version of Undead Nightmare, this trophy you get was called... Plus la peine de chercher, CJ? Which translates to, no need to seek it anymore, CJ. Then a further tribute was put in GTA 5. In fact, with this being the return to San Andreas, they had to go above and beyond, so there's actually two. In the Mission Predator, there's a mysterious, strange-looking heat signature that shows up, and shooting it does nothing. That's actually always confused me, so that makes sense. Then in a side mission called The Last One, Franklin is tasked with chasing down what some guy claims is Bigfoot. Some guy who evidently had been searching for 9 years. Turns out Bigfoot in this case was just some crazed guy in a Halloween costume.
It's perfectly normal to admit to being aroused role-playing dressed as a fantastical beast.
Of course, the fact that he'd been searching for 9 years is also a reference to the fact that GTA 5 came out 9 years after GTA San Andreas. Man, imagine only having to wait 9 years for a GTA game. Actually, that's not true. There were several games between them. There's also an achievement in the defective edition of GTA San Andreas for spending 24 hours walking around the countryside, and strangely, this trophy is called 81 Years Too Late, which itself is a reference to Undead Nightmare taking place 81 years before the events of GTA San Andreas, which itself was a reference to GTA San Andreas. It's an urban myth that has existed for so long, and it's so iconic, that it's been able to go completely full circle. If that doesn't break your brain. There's also a few other references, such as the golden peyote that allows you to become Bigfoot, as well as the Bigfoot skin in GTA Online. There may also be another few references in GTA Online, but as far as single-player story, that's where the myths attributed to Bigfoot end. At least for now. So why is this so fascinating to me, and why is it so important? Well, the Bigfoot myth in GTA San Andreas is sort of a time capsule in a sense, because while the internet was fairly widespread by 2004, it was before the internet really became a haven for all the information and misinformation in the world. I've heard it said that in the 80s and 90s, there were tons of playground urban myths that would permeate in regards to popular video games. The nude cheat in Tomb Raider, playing as Luigi in Mario 64, you name it. And all these things were started because some kid at some point decided to make up a lie, and suddenly it was a lie that spread from playground to playground, infecting the minds of all the youth, much like a viral outbreak. And you don't really get that anymore because something like this can't really exist, because with how widespread the internet is now and how thorough a lot of people are, games are usually data mined the moment they release, sometimes even before they release, so there's no mystery anymore. All information about a game is made available pretty much from moment one, making it almost impossible to have fun urban myths like this anymore. You know, that thing that my cousin's friend's roommate who works at Nintendo said? Those style of rumors can't really exist anymore because it's too easy to find out anything you want about any specific topic. And I kind of miss the innocence of something like this. The idea that people can collectively go on a wild goose chase to prove or disprove something on a complete whim, because they don't have access to all the information. And as such, there was a mystery and intrigue that made the games we play more interesting. I really missed that. That whimsical feeling like you're a kid exploring the forest next to his house for the first time. A sense of adventure. You know, I've never played Mortal Kombat 1, that is to say the most recent Mortal Kombat 1, but going on the Reddit, I've seen half a dozen people fighting Floyd, a mysterious secret character you can only fight through a specific set of circumstances, and that would be really cool if I could stumble across that by myself instead of being able to go on one of a dozen websites that tell me exactly what to do. And sure, I could just not look into that and try to discover it organically, but then part of the fun of these mysteries is the community aspect. It's the fact that nobody knows for sure, and so you can have a collection of people trying to figure it out. And I feel like Bigfoot might actually be one of the last greatest urban myths in gaming because of this. Because it wasn't too long after GTA San Andreas came out that the internet started to become what it would eventually become. And therefore, if a rumor threatened to start, you could just Google the question to get an answer, and even if something doesn't verifiably exist, it would be very easy to prove or disprove whether or not it's a mod, or these days some sort of AI arrangement. Therefore, something like this can never happen again, leaving behind the quaint, investigative, wistful charm that came with it. So thank you, Bigfoot. Thank you for everything. Even if you don't exist. That's all I've got. If you like this video and want to support the channel, you can leave a like, comment telling me what you think, subscribe, and hit the notification icon so you're always up to date on what I'm doing. And if you want to support the channel in a more direct fashion, you can pledge to my Patreon for unique perks and rewards such as early access, Discord benefits, and exclusive content, along with these fine folks right here. And an extra special thank you to Dick Kickham, Gaw004, Hydra Overlord, My Name is Tank, FarmCat84, Raph, Ranger X, Sphinx, Weird Webster, and Will Stokes for going above and beyond. I've been the King of Snark Style right here on Tactical Bacon Productions, and I will see you next time. Stay crispy, my friends.